It seems like there's this huge resurgence of everyone on YouTube going back to old cameras for what we're calling now the vintage look. Whether it's with photo or even now with these dad handy cams for video, everyone seems to be trying to pick up the oldest camera for that nostalgic look. But then at the same time, we've got this amazing wave of brand new technology. Obviously with AI advancements, I think that the Sony a7C Mark II is a brilliant camera, but I still love my Sony a7C Mark I. I have no need to replace it. But now with Canon releasing the C50, and especially with Nikon releasing the ZR at just barely above $2,000, I'm shocked. And I am absolutely so tempted by both of those cameras. But, you know, even myself, I decided to go back, as many of you have seen, and revisit the Panasonic GH5 because I started my entire film journey on Micro Four Thirds. And the GH4 was one of my main cameras. That was my A cam. The G85 was my B cam. The G7 was my C cam on a gimbal. And, you know, my pocket camera was the Lumix GX850, which I'll never get rid of because, to me, this is one of the greatest cameras ever made. The GM1 and the GM5 by Panasonic are beautiful cameras. I would love to have perfect examples of both of those. I don't like other people's old beat up, worn out cameras, even though they may have a story to tell. I like picking up the closest thing to new, and then I get to tell my story. And this GX850 is worn, tattered, scratched, and has been thrown in a bag and thrown in a pocket 100 times over. And I'm not delicate with it, and I have no need to be. But it's not going anywhere. And I love this camera. But two cameras that I have held onto through all these years for both photo and video are considered vintage cameras at this point. And it seems that the internet, or at least YouTube, is just blazing right now on a camera that I still use to this day for professional photography headshot work. And I've been using it since I picked it up in 2015. And that's this, the Fujifilm XT1. Now I've had 3 of these. This is my first one, then I got 2 more. I sold the other 2 and I picked up XT2s at that time. So I had this XT1 and then 2 XT2s. Then over time, I sold those 2 XT2s and got an XT3 and then went down Canon and got Canon cinema cameras and so forth and all this other stuff. But I enjoyed my time with the XT3, but I still always shot with my XT1 because this camera is just beautiful in every way. And there's something so special about the X-Trans sensors that unless you've ever shot Fujifilm with an X-Trans sensor, you can't have an appreciation for it. But this XT1, the EVF doesn't even work. It's green and flipped upside down. But everything else about the camera functions flawlessly. But this was my workhorse for a very long time and my main photo camera. And it was at my side on a harness, just jangling away, smacking my body everywhere I went. I never shot weddings. I'm not a wedding photographer. I'm a run and gun videographer for my main occupation, which I'm a bodybuilding and addiction recovery coach for 27 years. But I've been in front of and behind the camera as well as a musical producer, engineer, and touring artist for since I was 18. But the XT1 has been everywhere with me. but it very quickly became my family camera. I loved shooting my kids with Fujifilm. The simulations just made everything so special everywhere I took my family. And I'm a single father of 6. So this XT1 not only holds memories for me, but I want to hand it down to one of my kids when they show an interest. And one of my sons is very, very talented at video and does shoot some photo. And I would love for him to start shooting with this. And I love pairing cheap, dirt cheap, manual focus, tiny little lenses with the XT1 because it's such a compact package. Now this is with the battery grip even. Right now I have the Brighton Star 25mm on here. A lot of times I'll put on a TT Artisans or 7 Artisans lens and I'll just throw this in my little backpack and take this with me in the family. But to this day, in 2025, I still shoot professional headshot model portfolio work with the Fujifilm X-H1, especially paired with these Viltrox Pro lenses. Now on here currently I have the 75mm f1.2 Pro, and this is a fantastic and beautiful lens, even wide open at 1.2. It's incredibly sharp. But even the film, the video capabilities of the X-H1 still hold today in 2025. I've shot many videos for this channel on this camera. And I shoot mainly in Eterna mode on the X-H1. Now the XT1, the video capabilities are pretty much useless, especially today. And they were never anything special or spectacular. The 1080 footage is even subpar, especially if you compare it to something like Canon 1080 footage. Fujifilm just can't hold a flame. But the X-H1, on the other hand, can hold a flame. And the video footage that the X-H1 can produce is special, especially when shooting in the Eterna profile straight out of camera. I love this camera. The Fujifilm X-H1 is my #1 pick for anyone getting into hybrid work on a budget. But the XT1 has been with me since 2015. This particular one. And I'll never let it go. I mean, there's no reason to. It's probably worth pretty much nothing with, you know, a green EVF that doesn't work. But like I said, everything else works perfectly fine. Everything does. And I'm not necessarily even a Fujifilm shooter for the dials. And many of you may haze me for this, but I actually disable the dials and set my controls to the front and rear wheels. It's just faster and more efficient that way, especially when shooting model photography. But as I mentioned before, the X-Trans sensor, in my opinion, as someone who has shot with everything, except for Hasselblad and Leica, the X-Trans sensor is a special sensor. It produces a special image, an image that has become Fujifilm. And although I have my GH5 dream rig now set up in every way with the XLR1 and the small rig full cage, and I have the half cage for the battery grip over there, and the small rig handle, and everything I would ever want in a GH5 rig, and this is still a phenomenal and capable rig. We're shooting this with the GH6, which I also love. And this is a great camera. So as so many people are turning to older cameras, that makes me happy. I like to see that, because it means that people still want to be in control of what they produce, of the art that they create, of the image, rather than letting the camera control the image. And that's where creativity takes place. And in my opinion, that is where art happens.
Learn to deal with